We want to welcome to the show Chris Duhon. Chris was a former NCAA Division I basketball player who played for the Duke University Blue Devils, where he won an NCAA championship his freshman year. He then went on to play in the NBA in 2004 for the Chicago Bulls, the Los Angeles Lakers, the Orlando Magic, and the New York Knicks. After that, in 2014, Duhon was hired by first-year head coach Dan D'Antoni as an assistant at Marshall University. D'Antoni previously coached him as an assistant in New York and Los Angeles. On this episode, we talked about mental health, we talked about depression, we talked about things that he went through as a basketball player while he was in the NBA. This is not an episode you want to miss out on. So subscribe, tune in, and listen, because this episode was filled with gems. Thank you, Chris, for your time, and we hope that you all enjoy the Talk Your Exposure podcast. Welcome to another edition of Talk Your Exposure. And today's guest, we are very excited to have on the show somebody that I've been able to watch play because I'm a fan of the college team he went to. I'm a big fan because I also want him to come to Toronto as well, which we're going to dive into a bit later on. But before I introduce my guest for today, I want to give a big shout out to my co-host, Devontae Campbell. You are missed, my guy. We miss you. Obviously, you got work obligations, and I know you'd rather be here than be at work. But it's okay. We got you covered anyways, and no need to worry about that. But our guest today, like I mentioned, is someone that I grew up watching, someone that I grew up taking a lot of interest in, and I'm very happy to be able to have him on the show today. Former NBA basketball player, former Division I basketball player, and hopefully a great guy to be able to talk with today. Chris Duhon, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
I'm alive, can't complain. Again, thank you for taking some time to talk to us today, and we're looking forward to having a great show. I want to start the show off today, though, with a game called Overrated Underrated. We're going to talk about rivalries today. All right, so first thing that comes to your mind related to overrated, underrated, I'm going to start you off right in the right way possible. Duke, UNC, is that overrated or underrated?
Underrated.
Why is it underrated?
To be a part of it, it's hard to explain. Like being a part of that rivalry, something that you have to be a part of to really understand the magnitude of it. I think is one of the best rivalries in sports, and it doesn't matter if one team is having a great year or a bad year. When those two teams play, it's going to be a battle, it's going to be a war, and it's going to mean something for a lot of the for the players and also the communities around it. So I think it's underrated just because it's such a great rivalry, and once you're a part of it and you experience it, you'll understand it.
Now I want to know about this rivalry because this is another rivalry that's great in sports too. Yankees Red Sox.
Underrated. I think it's kind of one of those same things just because, they've been doing it for years and years and years. And, both organizations are, usually really good, and they have to go through each other to get to their ultimate goal, which is, obviously division championships and World Series. So I think that rivalry is underrated as well.
But I got to know, though, what about the Celtics Lakers? Is that one overrated or is that underrated?
I think it's overrated. Obviously, yeah. Even though, obviously in the 80s with Magic and Bird, I think during that time it would have been underrated. And then there was the brief stretch, with Paul Pierce and those guys, and with Kobe and Gasol and those guys. But other than that, it's kind of tough, especially one they're in, two different conferences, so they only meet twice a year. Mm-hmm. And then, if they're not playing, in the championship game, then, there's no really other meaningful games between those two guys.
I love the way that you described that. But speaking of two people who would always go head to head, a little bit back to the baseball side for a second, but I want to ask you, Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire, the home run competition.
Man, that was it overrated or underrated?
Overrated, underrated.
That's a tough one. It's only tough. It's only tough because of the scandals, and you don't know what's true or not. But I would say underrated because I'm still, one of those that you still have to hit the ball out the park. Yep. Even if you are on steroids and all that other type of stuff, you still have to have the hand-eye coordination, and when your pitch comes, still be able to hit the ball out the park. So, it was tough for me because I'm a baseball fan as well. So I remember Mark McGuire at the Bash Brothers with him and Jose Canseco, and then obviously with being from Louisiana, we don't have at that time there was only professional team we had was the Saints. So, but you always had WGN, which was all the Chicago teams, which was Cubs, White Sox, and Bulls, and then you had TBS, which was the Hawks, the Braves, that. So it was always watching those games. So I think it was underrated again because one, they were chasing each other, it was going back and forth throughout the year. So you were, if you didn't see the game, the first thing you're doing is watching Sports Center to see if any of those guys hit a home run. So I will go with underrated.
I like it. See, I had to give you a different variety because I knew you like baseball. I know you like basketball. I had to mix it up for you a little bit. But I want to ask you though, obviously, with such great rivalries, always comes some things that are, that hurt us a little bit or take away from what we're supposed to be doing. 2020 was a year that started everything with a pandemic, Kobe's death. We can go down the line of what happened in that year, and it's been a very bad couple years in that sense. But the one thing for me, the positive thing for me, was a lockdown that was actually allowing us to kind of refresh a little bit and reset our minds. Mm-hmm. What are some things that you were able to focus on during those lockdowns that you didn't really have time for before?
Oh, well, I think the main thing is family, especially when you're in the industry in sports, like, the sacrifice that your family has to make with you. One, your training, your preparation, being with the team, traveling, those type of things for you to, like you said, kind of reset and just really enjoy being, with your family. Like, those guys who are husbands and fathers and, wives and mothers, like, really had a chance for a couple months just to kind of be home and be there for their significant others, and their children. So I think, that's one of the positive things is that, kids, depending on their age, don't really understand completely, the sacrifices, an athlete has to make in order to be, really good at their craft. So, for that time period for them to be home and on a consistent basis, I think that was something that came out that was positive, in tough times.
No, for sure. And obviously, like a lot of things that we kind of go through as humans is we're always on the go, like you said, especially in the sports world. Go. We never have a moment to actually bank and refresh ourselves to say, you know what, let's regather our thoughts and how can we do things a little bit better. Coaching, playing, whatever it might be, scouting, whatever it might be, right? So for me in particular, it was actually good for me to be able to kind of, take a step back and to be able to learn a little bit more about myself in that sense. But I want to know something about you though. Where do you think your life would be if you didn't pursue sports?
Ooh, that's a good one. That's tough because sports was that one thing that kind of kept you out of trouble, gave you something to do. I played everything growing up. Football, basketball, baseball, ran track, so it's pretty much a year-round thing for me. Because one sport ended, you was going right into the other one. Sports taught me a lot of things just about life, becoming a man, work. Man, that's tough, man. I have no idea. I think I would have figured it out. But I was so locked in and keyed on, what I wanted to do and what I wanted to be. And, I just kind of put all my energy and focused on that. And, like you've heard, there was no plan B for me. That was a dream of mine. And, I was doing everything I can to accomplish that dream.
Well, it was definitely a good thing that you decided to stick with basketball and decided to pursue your dreams. Because for university, you went to a school that I've been cheering on for quite some time. You went to Duke University. But other than Duke, though, Who else is in the running for Chris Duhon?
So my final five was Duke, Kentucky, LSU, Texas, and Notre Dame.
Oh, wow.
That was my final five. And Duke just felt right and was like the perfect location for me, both on the floor and off the floor. There's a great academic school with a lot of great contacts, so you could do a lot of networking, and those things play a big part of especially now that my basketball career as far as playing is over. But the people that I've met there, the people that I continue to meet, that networking, and that's not to say that any other schools networking is not good as well. But I'm very fortunate to have a network system like Duke.
No, for sure. And honestly, I've always wanted to be able to go to Duke and be able to, shake your coach's hand. And that's my dream. You know what I mean? So definitely I envy you, but in a good way, if that makes any sense.
Yep, I understand.
Can you bring us to commitment day though? When you signed your letter of intent, how are you feeling in that moment, knowing you're about to be a Blue Devil?
Oh man, I felt great. I mean, I committed early. Once I went on my visit to Duke, I committed right there. So, I kind of got it out the way, early, so I can focus on my senior year and that basketball season as well. So, by the time that I was able to sign, which I don't remember the date, but I think it was in the spring. I was obviously really excited to get going, and first thing they sent was, a summer workout booklet for me. So, once I got that, it was looking at that and, starting to do that workout program until I was able to get on campus.
No, for sure. But I want to backtrack it a little bit. I want to go back to your high school career for 1 second. What was it like going to your games and seeing Coach K in the building watching you play?
Man, it was surreal. So, my story, was kind of different, and it was kind of a dream, kind of a fairy tale in a way, because, Louisiana is, a football state. And like I mentioned earlier, it's Saints and it's LSU football, and then it's everything else. So, basketball is not really high, or at that time was not really high end. A priority as far as fans and things like that, or being able to get recruited. So, I was fortunate after my sophomore year, we're playing in a playoff game, and I lived in a small town right outside of New Orleans. It's called Slidell, and it was a small town, so everyone knows everyone. And come walking into the gym is this 6'11" kid, and this older guy that's with him, and everyone's like, who's that? Like, they're definitely not from around here. Where it ended up being Jonathan Bender.
Okay.
I remember who Jonathan Bender was. Went straight out of high school, went to the Pacers. Would have had a really good career, but he had some chronic knee issues that kind of derailed his career. But he
was cold.
he lived in Mississippi. He was literally like 45 minutes away from me. He lived in Mississippi, and the guy that was with him was Thaddeus Fouché, who worked with Adidas, and they had like their Adidas basketball AAU team, which he tried to get the best players from Louisiana and Mississippi, put us together, and we compete against other top high school players in the country, and that's kind of where I got my break. And again, at that time, Jonathan was the #1 player in the country, so every time we played, every coach in America was there. And, I was fortunate at that time to like play really, really well. That's when kind of my interests from school started to go, get noticed and things like that. And that's kind of when I had a real reality, because my goal was to go to LSU, because I didn't think there was, any other possibility at that time for me to go anywhere else. And then, or that was kind of the highest level, LSU. But obviously they had like Tulane and things like that. That was in state. But then, like I said, I played well that summer, and started getting letters from pretty much almost every school. And then the summer after that, we had a really good team. We had, Mo Williams and Justin Reed. We had a squad, and then it just kind of blew up from there to where I basically had the choice, to pick any school that I wanted to go and play for, and so then that's kind of how it got became surreal, because it was just like, this is not normal, especially in our state. Like I was very fortunate for those two guys to walk into that gym and give me the opportunity to play on a higher stage in AAU, because usually my tournaments that I would play with the AAU team was in Louisiana.
Yeah.
The furthest we would go was Florida, would be like a national championship type thing, or in Texas. So, everything was kind of pretty local. But then to play, to be able to play in North Carolina, play in Vegas, play in California, those type of things, gave me the exposure that, I needed to be able to, pick a school outside of Louisiana, if, that been my choice. And, obviously, seeing, Coach K and Johnny Dawkins and, Steve Wojciechowski and Chris Collins and those guys at the games, obviously it was an honor, and, it was, a blessing as well.
I don't know about you, and obviously you did, but for me, if I saw Coach K at one of my games, I probably would have shot my pants. But that's that. But I'm gonna keep that, just between the two of us and our listeners.
Yeah.
But I gotta ask you though, obviously to be able to get a Division I scholarship, you need to be able to do well in school. So and on your SATs, ACTs, whatever you take to be able to get into any type of university. The difference of Canada compared to the United States, your grade point average is 65 just to pass. Here in Canada, it's a 50% to pass. How hard was it? This is one of my kids' questions, actually. His name is Robbie. How hard was it to stay eligible in high school to be able to get this Division I scholarship, but on top of that, to be able to manage studying, basketball, and if you did have a part-time job?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. It's tough. And then it's, one, I was very fortunate. My mom was high on education, from, when I was in first grade. So, whenever I started playing sports, like, I had to have A's and B's, in order to play. Like if I had a C, whatever sport it was at that time, like she would not let me play. So at a young age, I developed a work habit and the understandings of how important education was. So I took that very seriously, knowing that, eventually when I do get to high school and have an opportunity to go to college, grades will be very, very important. The balance, I think it's a little bit kind of easier in high school, just because the basketball, and it could change now. I don't know how it is now, but it wasn't as demanding as it is like once you get to college. So, for me, we usually had like 7-hour PE, which was like the last class of the day, which basically turned into, everybody on the basketball team had 7th-hour PE. So that was basically our practice time. And then, we'll practice a little bit afterwards. And then, you were done. Everything else that you did was on you. If you wanted to go and lift some more or play, at the park or whatever, work on your game, that was up to you to kind of, manage your time and get those things done. And, I worked a little bit, and obviously that was tough. But again, usually I would do that in the summers, do that during kind of football season, because then once basketball season kind of got going, that was kind of my main focus. But, I just kind of took pride understanding the repercussions of, not having the grades, to be able to perform. Like I didn't want to be a guy that had to be redshirted or have to go on academic probation just because, I wasn't disciplined enough to get my schoolwork done. And, that's very important, especially leading into going into college when basketball is more demanding and, you have the choice to go to class or not go to class. Well, technically, you have the choice to go to class and not go to class. But yeah, so I learned at a learned age, and it just comes to the part about being responsible. Like I didn't love school, but I knew it was a means to an end. So I knew that I had to do well in this for me to be able to play basketball, at the highest level. And, that was my goal. So the sacrifices of not really liking school was, hey, this is something I need to get done. I'm not going to do it just to get by. I'm going to try to do the best that I possibly can in it. And I think that's just my competitive spirit as well. Yep. And just knowing that I didn't want anything, minor as far as not having grades be a setback for me not being able to pursue my dreams.
One thing that always kept me motivated when it came to school, don't get me wrong, I was just like you. I didn't really like school. I always wanted to be on the court. I wanted to hoop. I wanted to get into games. I didn't really enjoy the school aspect of it. But my biggest thing was I didn't want to be embarrassed. I never wanted to be embarrassed in front of, everyone else is getting 70s, 80s, 90s, and I'm here getting 60s. I never want to be embarrassed that that kid to not go to class and everyone else is going to class. I didn't want to be embarrassed that maybe one day the teacher's going to pick on me because I'm the one that, didn't go to class or missed an important assignment or whatever it was, and everyone else is excelling and doing well. That's the one thing that kept me motivated in particular, especially as a freshman in university and a freshman in college. But I want to know for you, though, for you as a freshman in college, did you have any expectations going in on and off the court?
Yeah, I mean, obviously on the court, I wanted to be the best player I could be. I knew we had a team that was really talented and had a chance to win a national championship. And off the court, I was just learning. Now, you're living on your own. You have to make your own meals. You're in charge of your time management. You have to do your schoolwork. You're meeting new people, these type of things. So off the court, I didn't have any expectations. It was kind of just taking it all in and learning on the fly as it went. But kind of the piggyback of what you're talking about with off the court and on school, it was kind of one of those things. I was just like you. I didn't want to be the dumb jock, because or the guy that was, you're just here because you can play basketball. And as a man, like, you have pride and you want to go and prove your doubters wrong that you can do both. And is it tough? Yeah, it's definitely tough. But so is life. And so I kind of took that mindset, and again, that's just the competitiveness that's in me to, hey, I'm gonna be able to still do my schoolwork and at the same time be able to perform at a high level on the basketball end as well.
No, for sure. And honestly, you guys did just that. You mentioned earlier, you said that, you had an opportunity to go in there and, win an NCAA championship. As a freshman, I might add, you won an NCAA championship. I want you to walk us through the preparation leading to the tournament and throughout until the championship game.
Yeah, so we had a wild ride, and that actually, had to deal with some adversity. So, at that time, I mean, we were really good all year. I think we only lost to Stanford. We lost at Virginia, and then did we lose? I don't think so. We hadn't lost to anybody else until we played Maryland for our senior night, our last home game in Cameron. And Carlos Boozer, who was on our team, had broke his foot. He broke his foot in the game, and he was a big piece for us as far as our inside presence. He was our best big man, can score, do a lot of things for us. And for him going down, that kind of was a shock for all of us, or kind of like oh man, like, we kind of started feeling sorry for ourselves. So we ended up losing that game. And then the next game is Carolina at Carolina, who I think at the time was number one in that country. So, we're out Boozer. They're saying he's out 3 weeks or something like that. we have Carolina, and then after that is ACC tournament and then the tournament. And, we're just like, oh, man, this season's over. Like, we had a really good chance now without Booze. Like, things are looking, slim. Like, we can't win. And, after that Maryland game, the next day we had practice, and, Coach K came in there upbeat, confident, understanding that he knew that we were down. He came in upbeat, confident, and was like, hey, guys, if you guys believe in me and trust in me and do what I say, we're going to win a national championship. And, I'm a freshman at this time. So I'm, in my head, I'm like, come on, coach, man, we just lost see Booze. Like, come on, man. Like, so we had practice, and, all of us were kind of going through the motions. So we got kicked out of practice. Came back the next morning, said the same thing again. Like, hey, man, you guys believe in me, this and that. So, we had a team meeting, Shane Battier and Nate James, and, our two walk-ons, JD and Ryan Callback, had a team meeting. Like, hey, man, coach has never lied to us. Like, hey, let's buy into what he's doing, what he's saying. And, let's just go all in. Let's go for it. And, at that time, coach comes in, he's like, we're going to change the way we play a little bit. And I was coming off the bench at the time. So he was like, Chris, you're going to come start in for Nate. Nate, you okay with that? Nate was like, yeah, I'm good, coach. Casey, you're coming in, obviously to fill in for Booze. I want you to run the court, and screen for Shane. Like, your only job offensively is to get Shane open. And he was like, can you do that? And he was like, yeah. And then we had some other role guys, Matt Christensen, Reggie Love. He kind of explained what their roles were going to be. And then he was like, hey, we're going to play fast. He's like, if you're open, shoot the three. Like, just shoot it. Like, we're going to play fast. We're going up and down. And then that practice that we had, I mean, it was basically a track meet. I mean, we're just a lot of running, a lot of sprinting. Like, it was like preseason conditioning all over again. And, with the mindset of, hey, this is how fast we have to play. And again, going into Carolina, which was actually the perfect team to kind of try this on, because, Carolina's usually a team that always has depth at the big man spot. They always play big lineups. They had Brendan Haywood, Julius Peppers, Chris Lang. So their front line was like usually always big. They had Jason Capel, who was like 6'7", 6'9", Forte. So they were really a big team, but, they played slow. So, we win the game, and I think we set the record at the time for 3 points attempted and 3 points made. And, we just ran up and down the court and then played our game. And I think us beating Carolina then gave us the confidence moving forward. And then, the ACC tournament, we played Maryland that year. Maryland was really good. That was our biggest rivalry at the time that year with, Juan Dixon, Steve Blake, and those guys. And, we're able to beat them in the semifinals. And that gave us even more confidence. So we played Carolina again in the championship, and we were like, they have nothing for us. We're gonna bust their ass. And we did. I think we ended up winning by like 20 or 30 points that game. And so we were very, very confident going in. And then at the same time, we knew there was a chance Boozer would be back. So we were just like, hey, let's just keep rising. Let's just keep riding the ship. And then, we're going to get Booze back. And then we definitely know we're going to have a chance. So, won our first two games. Then we go down to California, and then we play, we play USC, then UCLA, or no, actually vice versa. And then Boozer came back for the USC game. And we kind of, walked him in. He didn't start, but he came in, played big minutes. But then at that time, Casey was playing amazing, doing what Coach asked him to do. Reggie Love, who's a football player, 6'4", 6'5", he was playing center for us. So he's playing bigs and boxing out bigs and doing a great job. Matt Christensen, Nick, all these guys, that didn't play a lot of minutes before, has gained a lot of confidence. So we ended up eventually becoming a deeper team. And, we just had it rolling. And then obviously Jay Will and Shane Battier, were, players of the year. So, and they played like that throughout the whole tournament. So then once we got to the Final Four, we were confident. We played Maryland again for the fourth time. And we just knew we had a psychological advantage of them because, that year was the Miracle Minute. We beat them in the ACC tournament with a tip in at the end, beat them by 2.
Oh, wow.
Pretty much, I want to say almost every game, they went up double digits on us at some point in the game. And we've, always walked them down. And, same thing happened in the Final Four. They go up 22 points. And, coach calls a timeout and he's like, it's like, I mean, y'all can't play any worse. What are you scared of? He's like, you think you're gonna be more embarrassed if you lose by 40? Like, just go out and play. He said, don't look at the bench. We're not calling any plays. Y'all just go out and play. And, that's what we did. We just went out and played. And, I think we cut it down to 8 by halftime. And then again, we just knew we had the psychological advantage over them that year. And we just knew it was a matter of time. Like, we just start off solid, we're going to walk them down and we're going to win this game. And, we did that and then played Arizona in a championship game. And, we were just confident. And, Mike Dunleavy was huge for us during that time, who he was kind of struggling a little bit in the tournament shooting. And, he came up big and made a lot of big shots for us. And, at that time, it was just like nothing else was going to deny us from, winning this championship. We worked too hard. We overcame a lot of stuff. And, we were together as a team and, and we were able to get the job done.
I mean, honestly, to be honest with you, to be able to relive that moment again and be able to relive those moments, I could hear the passion in your voice when you talk about it. I could hear how much excitement it brought you. Like to be able to even just hear that, like the reminder of who was on that team. You had about 6 or 7 future NBA players on that team. You know what I mean? So like to be able to kind of be able to win that your freshman year, that obviously allowed you to be able to become the guy you were moving forward for the rest for Duke University and for your pro basketball career. But I got to ask you though, how did Coach K be able to manage all you guys, all that personality to say, you know what? It's bigger than me. It's bigger than you guys. It's bigger than all of us. But if we do it together, we're going to be able to be successful.
Yeah, I mean, you just hit it. That was his message, basically. Like, Duke basketball is bigger than any one of you guys. Like, there was guys before you that helped get the program to where it is now. There are going to be guys after you that's going to bring it to an even higher level. So just come out and do your job. Like, and, Coach K is very particular in, who he goes and recruits. Like, so, he's not a guy that's going to go out and offer 10 guys, scholarships and then just kind of like whatever. Like, he's very particular. Like, I have my focus on 3 or 4 guys and, that's what I'm doing, or however many as possible during that year, that's what his main focus on. And he tries to get guys who are going to buy in, who are willing to sacrifice and understand that, we have a common goal. Our common goal is to go and be the best team we could possibly be and try to win, national championships. So, that's just kind of the guys we had. And, I could say he brings a lot of us in, a lot of us have talent. A lot of us we're willing to sacrifice. I mean, to that championship team, like, one of the key factors and one of the main reasons we were able to be so good was that, we had Dante Jones as a transfer who couldn't play, who was also a future pro. And, him going against him in practice every day with him running with the scout team just made us a better team. I mean, we're going against a pro every day. And he's out there on a mission, treating those practices as his games. Some guys who are not going to play can kind of mail it in and just be like, well, I'm just do what I have to do this year, and then I'll turn it on next year when I get the opportunity to play. He didn't do that at all. Like, he treated the practices like that was his games, and he came out and gave us, great looks, every single time in practice. And, you just gain that confidence. Like, hey, I'm going against this guy who's going to be a pro, And, every single day, like, there's nothing that any other team can throw at me that I haven't seen. And, just coach does a great job of just making it about the team, making it all about Duke, about the brotherhood, about the family, and, basically saying, hey, we win, you all win individually. So you don't have to go out and try to be the man or be the, a superhero. We have a lot of guys that are capable of playing at a high level. So just trust in one another, and good things will happen.
I could talk about Duke basketball all day long, to be honest with you. I could hear stories about Duke basketball all day long, but, we don't have that much time. So I want to move on to your NBA career. In 2004, you got drafted by the Chicago Bulls in the second round with the 38th pick. After doing 4 years at Duke University, learning from Coach K, playing with all those NBA players, how rewarding did it feel to finally get your moment of being drafted in the NBA?
It was great. It was great. It was something that I worked on, and that was your dream. But at the same time, the reality also set in because as a second round player, your contract is not guaranteed. So you still had to go and prove yourself and prove that you belong. And what a lot of teams would do with second rounders is either send them overseas for a year, or because the G League wasn't that popular then. Like, I think there are only like 8 or 9 teams, and usually if you went to the D League at the time, you wasn't coming back out. It was just it wasn't developed as it is now, to where now there's a real opportunity. You go to the G League and you play well, some team is going to give you an opportunity to prove yourself on the next level. So I basically had to make the team. And but the stuff that I learned at Duke, and my competitive nature, and loving challenges and loving to be doubted and to go and proving people wrong, I was able to go and perform well in summer league and in our training camp, and then I made the team, and then played a significant role with that team.
You definitely did. You definitely did. But I got to ask you though, what was your welcome to the NBA moment?
Oh man. So you always hear, and I think it's probably with every sport, kind of the rookie hazing that they do. Some people take it overboard. We didn't. So Chicago, we were a young team. We had eventually 6 rookies that were on that team. 5 of us played significant minutes. Kirk Heinrich was on that team, who was in his second year. We had Tyson Chandler and Eddie Curry, who both came straight out of high school. They're in their 4th year, but I was older than them. But we had really good vets. We had Adrian Griffin, and we had Eric Piatkowski and Antonio Davis.
Shout out
so
AD,
yeah,
Toronto legend. Toronto legend.
Yeah. So our job was to bring Krispy Kreme donuts to practice every day. Like, every morning, bring Krispy Kreme. Now, the difficult part about it is that the only Krispy Kreme shop is like 30 minutes away from the practice facility. So, someone had to, and we had a rotation amongst the rookies, like, hey, this is your week, this is your week, this is your week. So we started doing that, but then, by the time we started getting, the thing is that you go and you get these donuts and no one eats it. Like, not one person takes like a donut. Like, so you're bringing Krispy Kreme donuts every day and no one is eating them. Like, there's literally like boxes just stacked up of full Krispy Kreme donuts. So, we're like, man, no one's eating it. Season started. Again, like I said, 5 of us rookies had significant roles. So we're like, man, we're not doing this no more. Like, it's just a waste of time and money and, all this type of stuff. So we stopped doing it. And, no one said anything. So we're going. Then we have our West Coast trip. So, usually, teams on the East Coast will have a West Coast trip, twice a year, where you're on the road basically for, 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. And you get per diem, which is really, really good when you're going on the West Coast trip again, because you're gone for like 2. So we're all excited. We're about to get this, free per diem cash, and they're excited about it because it's going to be a lot of money. And Fred, who's our trainer, who's in charge of it, he comes and you have to sign the paper so you can make sure that everyone gets it. And we're signing it, and Big AD, your guy was standing right behind him, and every rookie that got theirs, he just reached over, grabbed their envelope, took all our per diem, and we're like, "Yo, like, what's going on?" He said, "You motherfuckers stop bringing donuts." I'm like, "Oh, are you serious? Are you?" We're talking about like $6,000-7,000 in cash right now that you're gonna be having, and takes up per diem. So at first I'm like, all right, it's gonna be it's a rookie lesson. Yep, AD, we get it. Like, he's gonna hand it back to us like in 2 days or something like that. Nope. Next practice, takes all our envelopes, puts it in the middle, half court, and they shoot for it. And we're not allowed to shoot for it. So they shoot half court shots for all our per diem. And we're not allowed to shoot. So we got to sit there and watch someone win all of our money. And it was like, we damn sure gonna have donuts there the next day, I'll tell you that.
Well, you know what? I spoke too soon on the AD, so my apology for bringing back some PTSD with that one.
Nah, man, AD was the best. I love AD. That's my guy.
Oh my God. But I got to ask you though, on that Chicago team as well, you had, like you said, you mentioned you had six rookies on that team. Who else was on that team?
So Luol Deng, Ben Gordon, Andre Snocione, who's from Argentina, but he was an older rookie because he obviously played in Argentina for a while. Myself, and we had Jared Reiner, who played at Iowa, big kid that played at Iowa. Except Kirk, Eddie, Tyson, Othello Harrington, AD, Gennaro Pargo. Oof. Eric Piakowski, maybe missing a few guys here or there, or kind of mixing up here. I don't know if Darius Sangala was there yet, or he came the following year. No, I think he was in Washington. He came the next year. But yeah, that was kind of our main group at that time.
That group could have been cold if y'all just figured it out and stuck together for a long period of time. Obviously, it was a rebuild year with the younger guys and stuff like that. But I do got to ask you though, how cold was Ben Gordon?
Oh, Ben was nice, man. Scoring the ball at his size. He can handle it. He can shoot it from anywhere. He had an amazing float game, great finishing package. And BG was a guy. And, the way we played, we were a defensive team. Scott Skiles was a defensive-minded coach. So we really, hung our hat on playing really good defensively. But then, Ben was our closer, so whenever we got in the fourth quarter and any type of close game and things like that, we depended a lot on BG to be that scorer for us. And he did a hell of a job for us. I think he won Sixth Man of the Year that year, as a rookie. And he, especially in Madison Square Garden. I don't know, he called it Madison Square Garden, but because I guess all his Big East times and that Big East championship is always in Madison Square Garden. So he's had some big moments there, and before then. But every time we were in the Garden, you can pretty much mark up 30 plus, because he was going to put on a show.
New York should have signed him. They should have tried to trade for him. That's what they should have done.
Yeah.
But I got to ask you, though, obviously, in university, you were at the top of the chain, winning the NCAA championship, playing for Duke University, and also playing for one of, if not the best divisions in the NCAA, the ACC. And from 2004 all the way to 2013, you had the luxury of playing in some very high level type cities, type stadiums, MSG, Chicago, also the Staples Center. You also played with some superstars during your time in the NBA. Can you talk to us about what it took for you and most pros to stay in the league longer than 5 years, but to also be able to play with these superstars and accept their roles?
Yeah, I mean that's what it comes down to, is just kind of, you have to find your niche. Like, everybody has a niche, and you got to find your niche and be really, really good at your niche, for you to be able to stay, in the league. I think sometimes when guys get drafted, they get comfortable in thinking that, they're safe. This is not college. This is not where you get a scholarship and you have a scholarship basically for 4 years, and you're safe. Like, you got to remember, there's a draft the next year with 30 guys that's going to be guaranteed, and 60 guys that get drafted that are hungry and trying to, so you're in an audition every single practice, every single game. You're auditioning, not only for your team, but for all the other teams in the league, because you never know with trades or whenever you're a free agent, those type of things. You want to, develop a resume that, teams want to have you on their team, and for you to continue to have the opportunity to play at that level. And then, so yeah, you got to find it. Everyone's not going to be Kobe. Everyone's not going to be LeBron. Everybody's not going to be these superstar type guys. But, what is your niche? What do you bring to a team that can help them win games? And, once you find that, you perfect that. And that doesn't mean you can't get better and try to, expand your game. But, you got to be really, really good at what your niche is. And then once you have that, then you can go expand your game. A lot of guys come in and, you're getting drafted and you're probably the man at your college. And, if you're not, one of those lottery pick type guys, you're most likely going to be a role player at the beginning, of your career. And so for you to be able to humble yourself and, continue to work hard, continue to be a pro, and, do what it takes for the team to win, then eventually, if you're that dude, your time will come. Playing with superstars, they expect you to do your job, basically. They know who they are. The organization knows who the man is in there. So, if there's any confusion, you can easily just walk up to the front office and they'll let you know that, who's the guy in that locker room. Yeah. So, real. Hey, are you going to help us, try to win a championship, or are you going to be a distraction? And, if you're the latter, you're going to get traded, you're going to get cut, and, those guys talk, so, if you get a bad reputation with one team being this, it could be hard for you, to be able to join another team knowing that, you have baggage, or you're not a guy that's willing to sacrifice, for the good of the team. So, I was fortunate enough to find my niche, do it at a high level, and, it gave me an opportunity to have, a pretty long career.
You were a great defender. Watching some of your highlights again, always reminding myself that you could, really strap up, 45 feet or whatever, or 54 feet or whatever it is that NBA court size is. And you always were able to get in the passing lane, steal the ball, get in people's shit, and make it very difficult for point guards to have on every single day. But you got to play with a point guard in particular, two-time MVP and also Canadian as well. Me being Canadian, I'm a bit biased, so it is what it is. But I gotta ask you though, what was it like learning from Steve Nash?
Yeah, I always studied Steve because Steve was, one of the best point guards, to ever do it, especially that style that they had. Well, he was one of my, favorite players. I used to love him at Dallas, with him and Dirk and those guys. And then, when he got to Phoenix, he just took it to a different level. And, I, in a way, kind of got cheated because, our time in LA, he was hurt. He was hurt pretty much the whole year. Mm-hmm. So, a lot of his stuff he was doing was, outside of the team because he was trying to get back healthy, and he'll be there for games, and I would get the chance to pick his brain and see how he see the game. But as far as really being able to be a teammate and watch him on the floor do his thing, he wasn't able to do it. His just injuries just prevented him from being able to do that. So But at the end of the day, again, being able to talk to him about the game, what he sees, how he's, thinking, 4, 5, 6 plays ahead, how he's reading the defense and setting them up for, how he's going to exploit them later. It was just an honor to like be around him and, understand the game from him. And, when he got the head coaching job, I knew as far as X's and O's and, being able to have his team ready to play on the court, like he would do a great job. Like obviously there's more that comes to being a head coach, but as far as like the basketball stuff, I knew that, he would have those guys playing the right way.
Now, this might be a bit controversial. If you don't want to answer, I completely understand. But knowing that of how good of a guy Steve Nash is and how good of a coach he is, and this is how much of a good understanding he is. When Kyrie Irving came out and said, "We don't need a coach. We don't need Steve Nash. We don't need whoever it is to be our coach," knowing him, knowing Steve Nash, how did that make you feel? And did you agree with those statements?
No, not at all. I mean, all these, a lot of guys feel like they don't need a coach, but like, the coaching is very, very important in a team's success. Kyrie's just thinking, and this is my opinion. I haven't talked to him or asked him about it, but he's just thinking, hey, we got Kevin Durant, we got James Harden. The style of basketball we're going to play, we're just, we're basically hooping. Like, so it's basically we're playing pickup. We got, 3 of the top scorers, in the league. And, that's all we have to do, for us to go out, and beat anybody and to beat anybody. I don't think he meant it in a way as far as like, yeah, like coaches are overrated or we don't need a coach. Mm-hmm. But it's also different, or it can be tough when your coach is someone you've competed against. You know what I mean? It's someone that you've played against, and he's just a little bit older than you, and those type of things. To where in a sense he kind of still feels like a player, mm-hmm. Even though he's not playing. But kind of the relationship and the respect you have for him. It's more on the player inside than, an actual, coach. Right. So, knowing Steve, I know he didn't take it, any type of way. I think we kind of all understood what he was basically saying. Just like, hey, man, we have 3 of the top scorers in the league that, we just going out there and hooping. Like there's no one that can guard all 3 of us. And, I just think he was just a poor choice of wording at that time. I don't think he really meant to demean Steve Nash at all.
Fair enough. And hopefully he didn't, because that's a two-time MVP right there. So to disrespect the two-time MVP is crazy. And the amount of knowledge he could learn from him, because Steve Nash used to be with Golden State before. And to be honest with you, he was actually, in my opinion, this is my opinion only, and take it for whatever it is, but I really feel like Steve Nash helped Steph Curry become the basketball player that he is today. So when Kyrie kind of said that he didn't need Steve Nash, I'm looking at him saying, a lot of eyebrows, a lot of question marks, a lot of uncertainty with that statement. So I do agree with what you said, though, in terms of they probably look at it saying, listen, we have 3 of the best players in the NBA right now. Why do we need a coach to run any sets or anything of that nature? We can just get up and down and run. And like you said, play pickup. So I agree with you on that. But I got one last question for you here before we get to our quick hitters. How much different were NBA practices compared to Duke practices?
Oh, a lot different. A lot different. Because you play so many games. You play an 82 game a season. So, once the season starts, your practices are, not often and, not very long, because, you're playing so many games back to back to back to back to back that, you want guys to be fresh and have their legs for those games. In college, the games, especially once you get into the conference, they're so spread out to where, practice is very important, because you want to kind of keep that momentum that you're building. You want to keep playing well. You want to keep your chemistry going well. So you practice more and you practice longer, just so, you're not playing as many games. In NBA, you're playing so many games that practices mostly are tune-ups and, kind of guys getting workouts in, tweaking some things offensively, tweaking some things defensively that, maybe you've been struggling with.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's kind of guys, continue to, one, improve on their games, but also just taking care of their body. So it's more like making sure you're getting your weights in, making sure you're getting your treatment in, your massages, and those type of things.
Fair enough. I love to hear it. Hopefully these kids are going to listen to the podcast. They're going to appreciate that answer, because a lot of people ask me, Coach, what's different of NBA compared to university? I've never played in the NBA, so I don't know. But so to be able to hear that was a great comparison. I appreciate that honest answer. Quick hitters for you. Favorite rapper of all time?
I'm gonna go Jay-Z.
Jay-Z. Okay, can't go wrong with Jay-Z.
Yeah, it's tough because I grew up in New Orleans, so I'm a big Lil Wayne fan too. But
okay,
I think Jay-Z kind of kept this steady a lot longer. Wayne kind of been in and out, for a couple of years lately. So, I'm hoping to get the old Wayne back some point.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I like Lil Wayne, to be honest with you. One of my favorite songs of all time is by Lil Wayne, Fireman. And that's so random.
Yeah.
Like that was one of my favorite songs by Lil Wayne. If you were to put together an NBA team, who in the NBA right now would you build your team around?
Oh man, it's tough. Right now, I would have to say Giannis.
Okay.
I would have to right now. Obviously, LeBron is still the best guy, but I think what Giannis and KD a close second. But I think with Giannis, his ability to guard multiple positions, the way that he plays the game. He plays hard every single game.
Mm-hmm.
And he's so young. He's going to get better. His shooting's going to get better because he puts in the work. But I just think he's a winner, and you can surround him with guys that fit him a lot better, a little bit than KD. I think KD's right there, but KD's a little bit older and had some injury issues in the past. So I would go with Giannis.
Can't go wrong with that. For NBA champion, cannot go wrong with that. If you were able to have a one-on-one conversation with anyone in the world, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Oh man. That's a good one. Oh man. I would probably say Martin Luther King Jr.
Sir. Yes, sir.
Just because I experience, probably not to the extent that he has, but I experienced a lot of the issues that he's dealt with, that he fought for. And I just want to know, where did he get the courage and the confidence to just continue to move on when there's a lot of doors slammed in his faces and a lot of no's and a lot of tragedies that were happening around him because of the cause that he was fighting for him to continue to have that strength to keep pushing and not letting those things deter him from continue to move on and fight for these things. I just think that takes a very strong and special man to be able to do that.
Yes, sir. I can't go wrong. You can't go wrong with that one. I can't disagree with you, to be honest with you. I've learned a lot about Black history this past year, especially with everything going on. I was engaged to a Black woman, so she was able to teach me a lot of things, and a lot of things I learned about Martin Luther King, a lot of things I learned about even Nelson Mandela, people like that. I've been able to educate myself on, and so for that in itself, shout out to you for that one. I would even love to have a one-on-one conversation with Martin Luther King as well. So, that's great answer. Great answer. I'm with you on that one all the way. If you could star in a movie as anyone in the world, who would it be?
If I can what?
Sorry, let me rephrase that question. If somebody was to do a movie on you and you had to hire a celebrity or an actor to play you, Who would you play? Who would play?
Yeah. Oh man. That's tough.
We got him. We got him in a 2-3 chop at the top of the zone.
Yeah. I mean, I would. So I have two people. I would say Jamie Foxx because I just think he's incredible with his talent to be able to act, sing, like comedian, like all those type of things. I mean, I think he's just so good in all those areas. But I would probably say Michael B. Jordan because he kind of looks like me a little bit, and I know all the women would go and watch the movie. So
you already know.
Yeah, I gotta try to get one of these Oscars or something like that, Grammys, whatever they're Oscars. He gonna help me get one of them.
I like the logical.
He gonna help me get one of those.
That was a great answer. I got two more for you here, and then we're going to conclude the show. If you could describe Coach K in one word, what would it be?
Leader. I mean, he's just a leader of men. The way he carries himself, he understands that he has to carry himself in a way that, people will want to follow him, people will trust him, and that he's not going to let you down. And now I think he showed that throughout his career as a coach, and his leadership extends on and off the court. Like he's a friend, he's a father figure, he's all this to so many different guys, and he does a great job of bringing us all back. Once we leave Duke, it's not like, all right, you did your time here, like talk to you whenever. He does an amazing job of keeping in contact with all of us, making sure we keep in contact with, guys that we played with and also guys that are playing now and guys in the past. And his leadership is something that is admirable and, not many people can do.
I definitely go catch a Duke game with him being his, I guess we could call it his last dance. So I definitely gotta go catch a Duke game this year for sure. I gotta ask you one last question though. This is a tough one. As you know, this podcast is designed around to try to bring knowledge for kids and to try to make sure that kids get enlightened by our guests and things of that nature. Who is someone that you think has a very good story that you could help us get on to Talk Your Exposure?
I think Jay Williams has an incredible story. I mean, him being National Player of the Year, number 2 draft pick, getting into a motorcycle accident, ending his career, not knowing what's next in his life, attempted suicide, and then found his way again. And now he's, ESPN analyst for basketball and has his own radio show and doing a lot of things, business wise. I think he has an incredible story that, a lot of kids should hear and listen to, because, when you're in high school and you're, high school All-American or even college and the college All-American, you kind of feel at times that you're, that nothing can happen to you. Like you can just do anything and, tomorrow is promised. And, you never know that just, one bad decision here or one mishap or one unfortunate incident, can change your trajectory. And, you have to be able to, be humble. You have to be able to, be willing to fight and overcome that type of adversity, understanding that life still goes on and that, you're capable of doing other things. If, one door closes, that doesn't mean there's, another door can open. And I think he's just a perfect example for that, because he was on his way to, being, an all-star and, and those type of things. Like he started figuring it out. I think his last 25 games, in Chicago, he was averaging like 22-9.
Mm-hmm.
And, the sky was the limit for him. He was figuring out the NBA game. His next year was going to be really big because they were going to get a new coach who, I think, if he had Skiles, who was a former point guard who loves his guards, was, probably going to give him the ball and, let him be who he is. And then he had that unfortunate accident. But for him to have that dark period of time to kind of find himself and then to rise above it. And now he's doing, amazing things, on TV and, on the radio and, also, in the community. I think is just a testament to who he is, a testament to the people around him that, helped him. Because, all of us, were places that we can't do it by ourselves.
Yeah.
Like you need help, you need a support. There's going to be tough times where you're doubting yourself, so you need someone to have your back, but you also need someone to, to tell you the truth. There's a lot of guys that have yes men who just tell people what they want to hear.
Mm-hmm.
When you have true friends, guys that really care about you, that tell you what you need to hear and that are willing to sacrifice and help you achieve your goals without having anything benefit for them. That's very important. That's very special, and that's very rare. So when you do find those people, it's very important that you keep them close because those are your true friends. And his story is about that. I've always stayed in contact with them and just words of encouragement, and just always let him know that I was there for him in any way or capacity, even if it was just to pick up the phone and let him vent for 30 minutes or an hour.
Yeah.
Whatever he needed to get into the right mental space to understand that he had people here that cared about him, that were here to fight with him, fight for him. And, now he's turned that into a successful, TV career with ESPN and, and all the other business ventures that he's doing now.
Honestly, that was very, very well said, man. And honestly, like, even when I did some research on him as well, because, I like to learn more about different people and things of that nature. I didn't even know that he was trying to commit suicide or whatever the case was. So for that to even kind of come out, man, to see where he's at now, knowing the stuff, the trauma that he's went through, knowing the type of motorcycle accidents that he was in, knowing what could have been for him, he could have just said, yeah, I'm off myself and bye. But no, he said, I'm going to continue to persevere. I'm going to push through everything. And like you said, man, like he got the help that he needed. And look at him now. He's an inspiration to a lot of people. And, for you to be able to talk about that right then and there, man, that was very well said. And couldn't have been said any better on Talk Your Exposure. You know what I mean? But
yeah. And I think it's a very important, like I think, and I think it's great that you see a lot more athletes coming out and being, more public about their mental health issues and things like that. Like, I think it's important, like people understand that it's okay to ask for help.
Yeah.
Us as men, we feel like if we ask for help, that's like a sign of weakness.
Mm-hmm.
When you're an athlete, you're a competitor. You're pushing yourself to the limits. You're trying to get yourself in the best shape, trying to get the best, jump shot or make the best catch or make the best pass. And like everything you do has to be perfect. And, that's draining.
Yeah.
That's draining physically and mentally.
Yeah.
And, there's times where, you need someone just to be able to talk to and help you stay in the right mindset, especially when things start to go wrong. Like if you're, man, I'm waking up at 5 a.m. every day and I'm working out 3-4 times a day and I'm taking care of my body and I'm playing like shit. Like, I don't understand it. Like, what, and then, you start playing mind games with yourself. So, to be able to, I think that shows a lot of courage for you to be able to say, like, look, hey, I can't do this on my own. I need help. Like, that's not a sign of weakness. That is actually a sign of strength and courage. And, I encourage people to, when they do feel alone or they do feel like things are kind of getting too tough for them to handle on their own, to reach out and get the help that they need, because it's very, very important.
Yeah, and honestly, you're right about that, man. And I feel like a couple years ago, DeMar DeRozan and Kevin Love openly talked about it as well. And when they opened up and talked about it, they got a lot of praise for it as well. So you're 100% right about that. They definitely do not be afraid to express yourselves, and don't be afraid to talk about how you feel, because there are people out there that care about, you know, us as men, us as people, us as human beings, and everybody in this world will definitely find the love one way or another. But man, I just need a moment to just kind of bask in what you just said, because that was very, very well said, man. And I'm not just saying that just to say that, but I appreciate those type of honest answers and those type of honesty, and you know, in general, like on the show, off the show, it doesn't really matter when it is. I just appreciate that kind of stuff, because even for me as a person, as a man, as a coach, as a son, not a father yet, but as a son, you know, I want to always be the best man that I can be for anybody that's around me. And I want to be able to motivate as much people as I can motivate. So for you to be able to say that right now, you hit it right on the nose with that, man. And honestly, I wish we were able to talk about mental health. I wish I put that in for today's show, because now knowing this, man, we could have had a different dialect about this, but hopefully one day again, we can get back on here again, maybe on a live or whatever it might be, and talk about mental health, especially during Mental Health Month in January. Because, you know, on record, but I was depressed for a long period of time until recently. I got some help. I got some therapy. I'm now vocal with myself as well, and I'm able to actually talk to people, and I'm being as free and as genuine and as real as I've ever been before. So, you know, the fact you just kind of hit on something that obviously is touchy subject for me as well. So for you to touch up on that, man, that means a lot to me, for somebody, you know, as a man who held a lot of stuff inside for a long period of time, who went through depression, who thought about suicide, who, you know, any negative thing that you could think of, I thought about it in every way possible. So I appreciate you being able to talk about that openly and say, listen, if you need anybody at any point in time, not necessarily just to me, just generally, you know, for to reach out to the people you need to, they are there for you. And I learned that the right way. So, you know, shout out for you on that. And if, you know, I hope that one day I can talk to Jay as well, because I would love to be able to kind of pick his brain a little bit and kind of see, you know, what made him not want to do certain things. So if you can make that connection, man, that'd be truly an honor, and I would really appreciate that. But
yeah, I'll shoot him I'll call him and shoot him an email tonight.
Appreciate that, my man. Appreciate that. But Chris, one last time before we get going, where can we find you on social media?
Oh, man, I'm not a big social media guy. I mean, I don't tweet, or I don't do any of that stuff. But my Instagram is CDU21.
CDU21. Okay.
Yeah, that's my Instagram, and I have to look up my Twitter. But like, again, I mean, I wouldn't follow me because I don't tweet. I just kind of use it as information stuff, like just to find out what's going on. It's at Duhon official. I don't even know who came up with that. I think that was my mom.
Well, I just gave you a follow. So if you see Talk Your Exposure on your page, you know, on your Instagram page, that is us. But again, Chris, you know, we thank you very much for your time, man. And honestly, I hope you had a lot of fun on today's show. I had a lot of fun. I learned a lot about you. You're honestly a very great person to talk to. You know, a Duke Blue Devil, which for me, like I said earlier, I envy you, but in a positive way. You know what I mean? I'm very happy that you were able to jump on today, and I was able to have a conversation with you. I'm hoping that we're able to have more conversations like these down the line, especially now that I know you want to be a mental health, or you are a mental health advocate as well. I would love to be able to pick your brain a little bit about that as well down the line too. So one more time again, Chris, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it, and we look forward to be able to talk to you soon.
Hey, thank you. And then, yeah, just let me know, and I'm more than willing to jump back on at any time.